This abridged excerpt were the first words that greeted you on blazeball.com. For some, this message was an exciting invitation to the greatest splort there never was. For others, it was a poignant indication to check that they had spelled baseball right in the URL. The website appeared unceremoniously on July 20th, 2020, first shared on Developer, the game band's Twitter. The reactions spoke for themselves. An explosion of positivity. Less than 200 likes and 2 replies, one from the company itself and the other an unrelated birthday wish. Okay, so the site didn't exactly make a huge splash on arrival, but word of mouth would soon spread, and with normal sports in odd places due to the pandemic, many tuned into the website to get their baseball fix. Over the next few months, more and more publications started to notice, and the player count began to rise dramatically. But what is Blazeball, I hear you ask? Well, put very simply, it's this, and this, and this, and also this. See, there are layers to what Blazeball actually is. From a literal, technical perspective, Blazeball was a website in which viewers could watch simulated stats about a fictional baseball-like league with its own teams, players, and rules. Viewers could gamble on games, select their favorite team, view the season throughout the week, and vote on end-of-season decrees to change the rules or make other adjustments to the simulation. The games were wacky, containing special weather and other events that radically altered the game. You don't play Blazeball, you just watch it. This all took place on blazeball.com and was created and run by the Game Band, a group of developers based in LA. But that's not all that Blazeball was. Blazeball was a narrative built by the interactions that occurred within the simulation itself. Through a typical season, teams won and lost, players rose and fell, and the league's fate was decided upon by decrees, world-changing decisions voted on by you. This all took place on blazeball.com, a website that was nebulously discovered by the Game Band, a group of developers who have no idea how it got there. But even that layer doesn't fully encompass Blazeball. Blazeball was a community using the mechanics and narratives from the simulation as a starting point. Fans of Blazeball began constructing and fleshing out each and every player, team, and event, becoming its own equally valid and important form of Blazeball. Those familiar with fan-forward writing projects like the SCP Foundation or even the Backrooms would fit right in. Any fan can contribute to the canon, but in Blazeball's case, it's all built on the skeleton of this simulation. This took place in various places, including Discord, a wiki, and even Spotify, but is all based on blazeball.com, an impossible website that glimpsed into another, more surreal universe that has, does, and will never always exist forever. Got it? Good, because it's time to play ball. The first season of Blazeball started relatively normal. All of the standard baseball rules were in place. 4 balls, 3 strikes, 3 outs, 9 innings, etc. Each team played 99 games per regular season, with the regular season running from Monday to Friday. Each game lasted approximately an hour, with new games starting at the top of the hour. Games ran almost non-stop throughout the week and culminated in the top 4 teams from each league competing in the final tournament on Saturdays. During the season, viewers could gamble coins on games, allowing them to rack up a small fortune with well-placed bets. That was the main way to interact with the game, especially this early on. 20 teams debuted in the inaugural season, which were divided into 2 leagues, further divided into conferences. Within the Good League, the Lawful Good division contained the Dallas Stakes, the Chicago Firefighters, the Kansas City Breathmints, the San Francisco Lovers, and the Los Angeles Tacos. The Chaotic Good division contained the Yellowstone Magic, the Boston Flowers, the Charleston Shoe Thieves, the Hawaii Fridays, and the New York Millennials. Over in the Evil League, the Lawful Evil division contained the Hades Tigers, the Philly Pies, the Mexico City Wild Wings, the Moab Sunbeams, and the Baltimore Crabs. And finally, the Chaotic Evil division contained the Breckenridge Jazz Hands, the Houston Spies, the Miami Dale, the Canada Moist Talkers, and my favorite and the objectively best team, the Seattle Garages. While each team has a story of their own, for our purposes, I'd like to focus a bit more on the Garages, who I feel are the best representation of what Blazeball could be. Garages didn't exactly have an impressive run in Season 1. Of the 99 games in the inaugural season, the Garages held a lackluster record of 43-56, placing bottom of the Chaotic Evil division and 16th overall in the league. While we lacked talent as a team overall, I'll give you that, boy howdy, did we have a good pitcher. Jalen Hot Dog Fingers, the crown jewel of the Garages, who was arguably one of the best pitchers in the entire league, if not the best of all time. While we unfortunately don't have access to her Season 1 stats, the people that started archiving Blaseball stats showed up more around Season 3. So while we don't have the exact stats of her Season 1 debut, Hot Dog Fingers had already started to build a reputation in one season alone. The Blaseball gods, in their infinite wisdom and adherence to Newton's third law, also gave us Mike I Hope You Fucking Die Townsend, one of the worst pitchers in the entire league and a total disappointment to the team. Season 1 came to a close on July 25th, 2020, just 5 days after it began. After a complete undefeated sweep of the playoffs, the Philly Pies became the first team to win the Internet Series championship, accompanied with the eerie warning that the first team to reach 3 championship wins would ascend. Aside from the names of the players and teams, the first season went by relatively normal as a baseball league simulator. But something sinister was hanging over our heads. Remember how I mentioned viewers could gamble for coins? Well, instead of using those coins to do more gambling like a true patriot, you could instead use the coins to buy votes in the weekly elections like a truer patriot. The initial season had 2 types of elections, blessing and decrees. Blessings were small team-based bonuses to give the winning team a bit of a boost. Players were able to set their team as their favorite, and the percentage of voters per blessing per team influenced what team would receive the blessing. As an example of a blessing, the Dallas Stakes received the max out hitter in Season 1, with player Jessica Telephone having her hitting skill maxed out, while the Kansas City Breathmints received the max out pitcher, with Polka Dot Patterson receiving the same for his pitching. And then, of course, were the decrees. Hanging like the sword of Damocles above our heads, the game presented 3 options for players to vote on. The first, Redistribute Wealth, would take the top 5 players from the champion team and redistribute them to random teams. The second, Relegation, would eliminate the last place team from the league and replace them with a new one. The final option simply read, Open the Forbidden Book. It shouldn't come as a shock to anyone which decree the viewers chose. With only 566 votes, representing 61% of the total Season 1 votes, the Forbidden Book was opened. And viewers were met with the following words. With the death of Jalen Hot Dog Fingers, we officially entered an eldritch era for the game. From here on out, the game would be defined by possessed umpires, eldritch gods, and of course, more incinerations. It's here that Blaseball really took shape, and I don't think it's a coincidence that the next 2 seasons, aka weeks, were when people really started to pay attention. With a growing popularity came growing fans, and with growing fans came a growing fandom. This time period saw the creation of the Blaseball Wiki, the Stats Hub, fan art, and perhaps most importantly, the fan lore. Fans took ownership of their favorite teams and players, creating pages and pages of semi-canon backstories. Every team, every player has multiple paragraphs of backstory that is almost entirely fan-constructed and maintained. While most of the fan-constructed elements weren't represented within the simulation itself, the game ban actively encouraged fans in taking ownership of their characters and stories. And to round out this era of growing popularity came what I bet is the most impressive and ambitious Blaseball project. We Are the Garages, released August 7th, 2020, a 6-song EP released by the now real band The Garages. Now a real-life band self-describing as an international anarcho-syndicalist musical collective, The Garages have had over 20 members from across all over the world, have released over 11 EPs and 43 albums, most of which were made within a 2-year span. The songs typically depicted various events of the Seattle Garages team and Blaseball at large, and there are some truly unironic bangers. Mike Townsend is a disappointment, and Firewalker with Me are among my personal favorites. The Garages, more than anything else, I think, represent the true spirit and power of Blaseball. Remember, this is how Blaseball started, and through the power of the fans, it turned into soulful ballads and dirty punk screeches about love, life, power, guilt, having to keep going while everything falls apart around you. One of their earliest EPs, The Garages Kill the Gods, in which the Garages declare war on the Blaseball gods for their crimes against humanity, of course, contains the song Pathetic Spineless, a song straight off an early modern baseball album. There are hundreds of songs in their discography, and they are beautiful and meaningful and inspiring. And again, They all started as this. Seriously, genuinely, consider giving them a listen. There are some true bangers in there. I've put a playlist with some of my favorites down below. Because of the fan interactions and fan stories, this is the era where those stories began to really matter. Sure, choosing a team to root for or a favorite player to follow was fun, but now you weren't just watching numbers tick across the screen. Each season and each game was a chance to watch a beloved fan favorite character risk life and limb. I'll be honest, I've never understood sports. They were never my forte. You can probably tell by my channel, but I have tried my darndest to get into various sports at various times. I have given it the old college try, and I just don't think that it's for me. However, through my various forays into various sports, I've gained a new appreciation for them. Maybe this is obvious for regular sports fans, but I never realized that sports were ostensibly a storytelling medium. Viewers don't just watch for the outcome of a particular game, they're tracking it as the next stop of an ongoing story. Narratives woven between teams and players and seasons for decades that use the game itself as a proving ground and resolution point. It's like how shonen narratives use fights to tell stories, or how pro wrestling uses wrestling matches. The sport itself is the storytelling medium. For more on unconventional storytelling mediums, see here. For the next few months, BlazeBall chugged along. Each week brought a new season, new players, new teams, new gods, new threats. Incinerations were the first of the horrible fates awaiting the players, but it was very far from the last. Throughout the next few weeks, the game band had no shortage of ideas for new features. Many of these threats were signaled by specific weather events. See, even dating back to Season 1, there were multiple different weather events that were randomly chosen per game. In that first season, these were largely just for aesthetics, but they would soon become an essential element of the simulation. Following the opening of the Forbidden Book, each game in Season 2 had the solar eclipse weather event, which meant there was a random chance of incineration throughout the game. In Season 3 and beyond, more weather events joined the rotation. Notable examples include Peanuts, which gave a chance to shell a player, Birds, which could free a shelled player, Feedback, which gave a chance for players to swap teams, Reverb, which gave a chance for player positions to shift, and many more. Like Season 1, Season 2 ended with its own ominous decrees to be voted on by viewers. Relegation returned from Season 1, threatening to eliminate and replace the worst team in the league. It was joined by 4 other options this time around. First being Enhanced Shame. Shaming is a whole side mechanic. You can read about it right there. Popular Evolution, where the team with the most fans would evolve. The Fourth Strike, which would give a 4th strike to the bottom 4 teams in the league. And Peanuts, with the description simply reading Peanuts. This time, 2 decrees were passed. The first was the Fourth Strike, and the second was, unsurprisingly, Peanuts. Thus began the Peanut Plague of Season 3, in which we got the aforementioned peanut-related weather events, and most importantly, Peanuts. Peanuts became a new currency of sorts for players. It was tracked like coins and could be purchased at varying volumes throughout the day, although the ratio of coin to peanut always remained the same. Peanuts could also be eaten, but with no known effect. Less than 2 hours into Season 3, all play was halted and fraud was declared. Somehow, viewers had immediately found an exploit to give themselves infinite and negatively infinite amounts of peanuts, thus declared the peanut fraud, and all website functionality was cut. Instead of games, the only screen on the website was a giant rotating peanut with the words blasphemy. This, as we would soon learn, is the first of many BlazeBall gods that we've come to know and hate. The entity, later known as the Shelled One, became the primary antagonist for this era of the game. It would appear periodically throughout the next few seasons, taunting the viewers and commenting on recent events. In his first appearance, the Shelled One announced that the peanut fraud was Strike 2, with the opening of the Forbidden Book retroactively called Strike 1. Other entities would soon appear, like the Squid Monitor, who was the somewhat benevolent rival to the Shelled One, and the Coin, who ended up running BlazeBall throughout the second era. The next major appearance of the Shelled One occurred later in Season 3, following an event known as the Grand Unslam. During a game between the Charleston Shoe Thieves and the LA Tacos, a real bad gateway technical error occurred on the site, requiring the game band to take the site down for repairs. When play resumed a few hours later, fans noticed that the Tacos and the Shoe Thieves had somehow played a whole extra game compared to the other teams in the league. In the aftermath of this unseen game, Los Angeles was split into an infinite city, with the team renamed the Unlimited Tacos, and every player on the team renamed to Wyatt Mason. This event in particular, I think, represents the true strength of BlazeBall. The developers took such a player-first approach that they transformed actual tech issues into its own story and lore, turning something, mildly annoying to the viewers into one of the most iconic moments of the game. It represents the spirit that the dev team tried to capture throughout the lifespan of the game. I don't want this video to just be a recap of the whole game season by season. The Anchor already had this covered about 5 years ago. Shout out to Quinn and his quest. But here's a list of important and interesting events to get a sense of how the viewers in the simulation interacted throughout the first 10 seasons. The league underwent a restructuring following a decree vote in season 5, ditching the lawful, chaotic, good, evil divisions for wild, mild, and high and low divisions. For reasons unknown, the Mexico City Wild Wings were placed in the Mild League, which led to an official legal complaint filed against the commissioner, who's doing a great job. As a settlement, the Mexico City Wild Wings were officially and forcibly renamed the Mexico City Mild Wings. Season 6 introduced idols to the game, a mechanic where viewers could pay coins to choose a player to be their idol. You would earn additional coins based on that person's performance, whether they're a pitcher or a hitter, etc. Also debuting was the Idol Leaderboard, a list of all players ranked by how many viewers have them as an idol, with various blessings and decrees referencing placement on the leaderboard. One such blessing was called Lottery Pick, and allowed the winning team to steal the 14th most idolized player in the league. And this is where viewers began to hatch a plan. See, viewers quickly realized that even after their death, incinerated players could still be idolized. Whether this was an intentional mechanic or a mistake on the developer's part, Garage's fans quickly put the pieces together and realized this could be their chance. Through a massive fan effort, viewers coordinated to make sure the Garages won the blessing and managed to get Jalen Hotdog Fingers into the 14th position by season's end. And thus the league's first act of necromancy occurred, with star pitcher Jalen Hotdog Fingers returning from the shadows. Necromancy, naturally, has a cost. To make room on the team, up-and-comer Mike Townsend was forced to retreat into the shadows, taking Jalen's place in the afterlife. And soon, viewers realized some things might be better off dead. In Season 7, Jalen started hitting players with pitches, marking them with a new unstable condition, which increased their likelihood of incineration. Unstable spread like a virus, latching on to another player after its owner's incineration. The rest of the season became a bloodbath, with Jalen inadvertently murdering 12 other players, which were referred to as paying her debts. Jalen's debts would continue to impact the league for seasons to come, and she was never quite the same again. This was strike 3, the Shelled One said. One more, and you are out. In Season 8, Blaseball debuted the Hall of Flame, a dedicated leaderboard for incinerated players. Viewers could make offerings with peanuts, which would then boost their position in the leaderboard. At the end of the season, the Shelled One expressed disappointed in how little peanuts were donated and declared that alone to be the 4th strike. The 9th season ended with one final game after the championship, with the Shelled One forming his own team of players with the Shelled condition. They battled the newly crowned champion Shoe Thieves, ultimately decimating the team in like 3 minutes. But Blaseball players would get their chance at revenge one season later, when the first arc, the Discipline era, came to a close with the final game of Season 10. Once again, the Shelled One's team appeared to face the champions, who were again utterly decimated. But just when things were looking dire, the Monitor appeared with players from the Hall of Flame, and a final game was played between the Shelled One's pods and the Hall Stars. The Hall Stars, consisting of 14 incinerated players, many of which were killed by Jalen, saved the day, ended the Discipline era, and ushered in a brave new tomorrow. While the mechanics, simulations, and in-game events are undeniably crucial to understanding Blaseball, they are only one dimension to what the game actually is. To go deeper, we need to learn more about the fans. Throughout these earlier seasons, Blaseball was at the top of its game and fans couldn't get enough. Their appetite was so whet, in fact, that they had to make their own. The Blaseball Wiki, Blaseball Reference, various discords, and other communities had cropped up around Season 3, and fans got right to work filling in the gaps left by the simulation. Every team, every player, every possible event was written, documented, backstoried, and drawn, and by gods, the fans were dedicated. One of the more unique elements of Blaseball is the lack of an official canon of any sort. Like other fan-sourced writing projects like the SCP Foundation, there is no one singular, agreed-upon canon, but rather a collection of traits and stories of each player that you can take or leave as you see fit. Taking us back to my personal favorite player, Jalen Hotdog Fingers, who is a great demonstration of this principle. Here is the official Game Band approved canon, and here is the collaborative lore created by the fans. And this thing is meaty. For example, we learned that Hotdog Fingers was the mayor of both Seattle and Dark Seattle, Seattle. Dark Seattle is a mirror world of Seattle accessible only through destroying the Seattle Gum Wall, which was a historical landmark under Pike Place Market. She was also a trumpet player for the Seattle Garage's Big Bops band and a whistleblower in the Party Time Papers. Documents leaked by various Blaseball players about how Jamazon being a Seattle-based conglomerate corporation that owns like every other company, committed various war crimes during the Blaseball Glolf conflict, a war waged between two rival splorts enacted entirely on a Glolf/Blaseball combo field that resulted in the eradication of Glolf from the history of the world, and that was just the first sentence. I think the collaborative nature of the lore is the most essential piece of understanding what Blaseball actually is, and I think the best way to show it to you is by telling you my own story, my own version of events of the Jalen Hotdog Fingers saga. It all started in the first season of Blaseball. After a difficult season with little support from the outfield, infield, or home plate, star pitcher Jalen Hotdog Fingers was practicing with her middling team, the Seattle Garages, when she is suddenly and abruptly incinerated. Her death sent tidal waves throughout the entire Blaseball community, but none were hit as hard as the team. Mike Townsend, a rookie pitcher who saw Jalen as a mentor but had none of her talent, was particularly devastated. After her death, Mike trained all off-season long to try to live up to her name, but as the season came and went, Mike's dreams were quickly dashed. Instead of the hero, Mike had become the punchline. A game headlined by Mike Townsend was an excuse to take a bathroom break. In the immortal words of the Garages, Mike Townsend was a disappointment. Time passed, and incinerations and deaths became a normal occurrence in Blaseball, but the Garages never forgot. They renamed their stadium to the Hotdog Fingers Memorial Climate Pledge Garage and Parking Facility, and Mike Townsend did everything in his power to play in her honor. And you know what? He got better. As the seasons ticked on, Mike Townsend found his reputation drifting into apathy and even mild excitement. He grew extra thumbs in the third season due to a blessing and slowly, glacially clawed his way to mediocrity. Mike Townsend was a credit to his team. But Mike Townsend will never be the hero. Mike Townsend is Sisyphus. After Jalen's death, he was ridiculed, mocked. He trained, learned, was blessed, got better. He rolled the boulder up the hill. But he realized he would never be Jalen Hotdog Fingers. He would never be the hero, the legend, the martyr. And when the world discovered a way to bring her back, the boulder rolled right on back down the hill. But we soon learned that bringing her back wasn't free. It required a sacrifice. Mike Townsend would never be the hero, but maybe, just maybe, he could save one. So he pushed the boulder back up the hill for what he hoped would be one last time, and at the top, the exchange was made. Jalen Hotdog Fingers, the legend, the hero, came back to life, and Mike Townsend forever retreated into the shadows. But Jalen Hotdog Fingers came back wrong. Necromancy is a nasty business, and as the body count ticked higher, as each and every team she played against faced possible annihilation, the hero became the villain, and Mike Townsend's boulder rolled right on back down the hill. One must imagine Mike Townsend happy. I don't know what to do if I can't. Here's the lore-accurate version of that story, by the way. The end of the Discipline era was far from the end of Blaseball. After an in-between 11th season and an extended 4-month siesta, Blaseball returned with Season 12, officially beginning the expansion era. As a side note, the 4th-month siesta was, in my opinion, one of the biggest reasons that the game began to fizzle out at this point. Blaseball's success was so dependent on its timing, with it beginning right at the height of COVID lockdowns, but by the time it had returned in 2021, many people were ready to stuff their head in the sand and pretend that everything was fine, and sports were returning to their usually scheduled programming. This, along with a 4-month break causing many viewers to just simply lose interest and never come back, was the biggest but ultimately unavoidable flaw of the game going forward. Absolutely, the team needed more time to get things where they wanted it, and I can't fault them for that. We'll be moving through this era pretty quickly. As its name suggests, this era was all about expansion. 4 new teams debuted this season: the Atlantis Georgias, the Ohio Worms, the Core Mechanics, and the Tokyo Lifts. Okay, technically, the Tokyo Lifts appeared in Season 11 after the Baltimore Crabs ascended from the league following their 3rd championship win in Season 10, but then the Crabs returned as one of the 4 new teams in Season 12, so it's practically just swapsies. By this point, the mechanics of the game were getting to be pretty unwieldy. There were dozens of weather types, players, player modifications, random game events, which made the game much harder to parse for newer viewers. There was flooding, team levels, sharks that ate player stats, redactions, resurrections, an investigation modifier, secret bases, and just about a million other modifiers impacting the games at any one time. It was extensive. Expansion really is the best word to describe this era. Each new mechanic, each new weather type was trying to one-up the one before, leading to a 100-meter dash equivalent of power creep. Here's a snapshot from the Blazeball wiki detailing a single mechanic present only in Season 24. With the end of the Earl Siesta, fans quickly discovered a new mechanic that had been made available. In place of the depth chart, a map appeared. Each quadrant of the map corresponded to a different destination, each represented by an icon in the corners, or end zones. The upper left quadrant was the vault, represented by loot crates. The lower right was the desert, represented by the reader. The upper right was the hull, represented by pulsar. And the lower left was the horizon, represented by black hole, black hole. Finally, a supernova eclipse icon was at the center of the map, the location of the coin. Initial placements on the map were determined based on a team's position on the depth chart, and in place of an election, fans could spend votes to orient their team in a direction on the map. Additionally, fans could spend coins and later snacks in order to fuel the travel of their fellow teams. The map slowly rotated clockwise over the course of the season, ultimately resembling a Blazeball diamond in the end. Yeah, okay, but what happened to the baseball? The expansion era concluded with Season 24, with the aforementioned black hole taking over the entire map, consuming and nullifying Blazeball altogether. And thus ends the true original era of the game. But like any horror media, it came back for one final scare. But first, a quick detour. Like all things on the internet, the fans demanded merch. There was little Blazeball merchandise actually offered by the game band, but in the spirit of Blazeball, the fans had it covered. Blazeball Cares was a volunteer-driven artist and designer collective that designed, sold, and shipped Blazeball-themed merch with the goal of donating the majority of profits to various charities. Their defunct website, now deemed Blazeball Cared, boasts over 14,000 shipped orders and over $100,000 donated to various charities. Like all things Blazeball, the actual lineup of products is nearly impossible to find retroactively. There were jerseys for each team, hats and socks, other themed clothing items, a one-off fashion magazine, and even a 300-page cookbook, and a whole damn trading card game. It's mind-boggling to me how committed Blazeball's fanbase was, even in the years past its peak. The community efforts feel so Herculean, and yet there were over 700 unique merch items throughout the entire run. 700 merch items that are, for the most part, gone with the wind. Hardly any of this stuff exists for sale online. eBay has copies of the trading cards starter set available, but not much else beyond a garage's vinyl release. Merch from Blazeball Cares, over 700 unique items, are just gone. Echoes of Blazeball Cares still exist on the Wayback Machine, but even then the archiving was incomplete. We can get a glimpse at some of the many designs for merch, but many more images weren't archived. I desperately wish that I had picked up one of the Garage's jerseys back in the day. I'm not even sure how to even start tracking one down nowadays. Through researching and remembering this era, I've grown a new appreciation for Blazeball 6 years later. It was such a flash-in-the-pan moment, a unique confluence of factors that created something so special that has largely faded from the world, even physically. Echoes still remain, but almost all physical traces of the game, its fans, its community, have been lost to time. Just one more digital ghost in the internet graveyard. Nothing lasts forever. Not even ball. The end of Season 24 brought on another grand siesta, this time taking over 17 months between games. Season 24 concluded on July 31st, 2021, and the rebooted Season 1 began January 9th, 2023. By the time it had returned, the core fanbase had moved on for the most part. Blazeball had become enshrined in the lore of the pandemic, a relic of an era the world had moved on from. When it did return, Blazeball made little fanfare, just as it had done when it began. The season was meant to be a new beginning. Previous seasons were retroactively titled as beta seasons, marking this the actual start of Season 1. The teams were mostly the same, but the rosters were all brand new. The slate slate was wiped clean to begin again. Beyond the dwindling fanbase, this era's true flaw is in its reliance on what worked in the past. Somewhat of a recurring trend, this season was especially evident of an Ouroboros of ideas. The season ended, like all others, with a vote. This time around, the options were new redistribute wealth, new relegation, and of course, new open the forbidden book. Unsurprisingly, the fans voted to once again open the book, and coincidentally, by almost the exact same margin as the first time around. This time, the resulting decree read as follows. The book opens. Solar eclipse. Umpire's eyes turn white. Star player Anastasia is a robot, is incinerated. They are replaced on the Mexico City Wild Wings by Goran Doi. Star player Terrell Bradley's alternate is called. Star player Zephyr McLeod is cursed. Eyes clear, heart fills. They can't lose. Star player Simon Haley swears in. They embark on a side quest in the shadows. Pixie Carberry clocks in. Breckenridge breaks. The coronation era begins. It's almost an exact echo of the original book's opening, but this time more strange, more mysterious, more spooky, more features. I'm biased, of course, but season 1's decrees just felt more iconic. It's partially unfair. The original decree was iconic for the sheer novelty alone, but I can't help but feel like this era was a missed opportunity. This season was pitched as a revival, a true reboot, but all it can do is reheat the original's nachos. Part of me wishes that they had taken this moment to truly innovate, to push what BlazBall was, instead of just reverting back to the usual absurdist eldritch horror with extra toppings. They could have taken the game in a whole different direction. The mechanics of seasons 1 and 2 were more reminiscent of the map bullshit in beta season 24 than any of the simplicity from the beginning of the game. After season 2 ended, the game band announced that the game would be taking yet another extended siesta, as the team was not satisfied with the return. They promised the game would be back up faster than it was last time and that they'd provide regular updates on their progress. BlazBall would never return. On June 3rd, 2023, the team officially announced the end of BlazBall, and the site has sat the same ever since. A goodbye, a list of credits, and a long list of players, each being marked as released. And here is the true end of the Jalen Hot Dog Fingers saga. She never made it to the new seasons, but here she is. She was released as well, along with all the former players not in the league. Jalen, the Wyatt Masons, even Mike Townsend, scattered across the Netscape as free digital constructs. All that's left of them now is our wiki pages, our art, our songs. They are the ghosts that live on in our stories. So what is BlazBall? I think the game band themselves summed it up best in their goodbye. BlazBall was about finding connection when the world feels out of your control. It was meant to bring people together and connect us across unfathomable distance and despair, and it did. All of you found us, and every person who touched it was part of this story. And I hope that now you'll be part of this story as well. Thanks.